Oh, yeah. You ready?
Mhm.
Hey, podcast listeners, Ria Wong with you once again with Nonprofit Lowdown. Today is a special edition. I am here with my friend and guest, Dr. Emerald Mitchell, and we're going to talk about all of the success that she's seen with moves and grooves. And it's a little bit of a case study. So even though Emerald hasn't been in my program, I did have the honor of being able to train her. And people, she has done big things. So I will let her tell you all about it. But Emerald, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rhea. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure just getting to know you, and I'm excited about this podcast. Like, wow.
Excellent, excellent. Well, as am I. So before we jump too far into it, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you're the founder and executive director of Moves and Grooves in Nashville, Tennessee. Tell us
Yeah.
about what was the inspiration for you?
So, Moves and Grooves is a nonprofit that I started my freshman year in college at Fisk University. I'm originally from Portland, Oregon, believe it or not. And
I
so
did
I was a
not
part,
know that.
I know people always get a kick out of that. Every time I say that, they're like, oh my goodness, there's people in Oregon. And I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of us. So came to Nashville in 2000 to attend Fisk University, and being that I was a part of an amazing nonprofit growing up, I had just a heart for children. And coming to Nashville, there was a lot of poverty near my university, and I just started to be proactive about it. I'm like, let's give these kids a place to go. I have dance as my background. I use that as my form of expression. I started to volunteer at a community center, and soon my class of five turned into 50. And I'm like, hey, got to do something with it. And hence Moves and Grooves 20 years later. So, yeah, Moves and Grooves, just to give a little background and what we're doing. I mean, we are a nonprofit mentoring arts and education program. We contract with the district, reaching about 1,600 youth annually. We've been around since 2002. So we just celebrated our 20-year anniversary. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And
Happy
yeah, we're just
anniversary.
chugging along. Thank you. We're
Yeah,
chugging
yeah, yeah,
along, making
yeah.
a difference.
Okay, so
Appreciate
let's give the folks a little bit of context here. So you and I met via one of your funders in about a year and a half ago in Denver, Colorado. And
That's
at the time, I remember you and I had a conversation. You were like, Ria, I got to raise. I can't remember what you were trying to raise. And I said, that's not a problem. And your head just about exploded.
it really did. So yes, we met in Denver, Colorado, a part of the cohort with New Profit, one of our funders, as you shared. You were a guest speaker, and after like a long day of guest speakers, you were like the shining light. You came in, it was your energy, guarantee. It was your energy, it was the information that you were sharing because it was at a pivotal part of my career where we needed to raise $10 million for our capital campaign. Our goal was to provide a forever home for our 1,600 kids. And so just hearing your story and how you just made fundraising seem so fun and easy, it captivated me. And from then on, once you gave, I think I won the book. I think I was so in tune with your presentation that I answered a question correctly, and I received one of your books, which was The Tool of My Dreams. And I freaking love the title because I say that phrase all the time. Get that money, honey. I freaking loved it. So that was really the guide that helped me really put the information into a transactional plan that I still use today. So yeah.
Oh, wow. So kind of you to say, but same thing. When I met you, I was like, this woman is a powerhouse. There's just no way that she is getting held back. I mean, your energy, your vision, your passion for the work, all the things. But tell me a little bit about what happened recently, because when we saw each other, I guess it was in Oakland recently,
Yeah.
you told me a story. I just was blew my mind open.
So yeah, as I shared, Moves and Grooves just celebrated its 20th anniversary, and we're embarking on this capital campaign to raise $10 million. And for a new, entrepreneur, and especially getting into the major donor field, I had a tough time telling my story. There's so much that's gone on in 20 years. I didn't know where to start, where to end. I didn't know what really resonated. And so after reading your book, you gave me a plan. You told me to share the story of self, the story of us, and the story of now. And that gave me a framework to tell my story in a strategic and compelling way. And that ultimately is what we got our new what $1 million donation from. So it was definitely worthwhile. It was actually 2.5 million, if I'm being exact, that we received, that we received, which is the largest donation we've ever received, in the 2 decades we've been in existence. So I definitely credit you and your framework to help me share my story in an authentic way. So
Well,
thank
and
you.
I'm going to give credit where credit is due. That is Dr. Marshall Gantz, but I'm happy that that framework helped you. And I think we did some practicing as well. But okay, you know I'm going to ask the details. Tell me
Okay.
how it went, because I know there are people out here being like, all right, Emerald, $2.5 million. Like, I'm not going to be able to do that. So,
Yeah,
because at the time, your budget wasn't, if I'm recalling correctly, like you were below a million at the time. Was that right?
I was. That is very true. So we've been an organization that's been growing, but growing, fairly, in small increments. I want to say 2 years ago, we were at, $500,000 operating budget. And then last year, I think we were at maybe 800,000. So we were growing, but we've never had a $1 million. We never met that $1 million mark. And for any entrepreneur, that $1 million is where you are in there. And that's how we felt in the nonprofit world. But it definitely was not easy. I do not want to lie. I definitely heard a lot more no's than I heard yeses. And to be truly honest, it was me stepping out of my comfort zone. That was a secret. It was me going out building those relationships. Because, I want to say when I first started Moves and Grooves my freshman year, my mentor said something really poignant after I tried to write 50 grants, by myself, and I didn't get any of them. He said, Emerald, people don't fund programs, people fund people. You got to get out there, build those connections, let them see your passion, let them understand who you are and the why behind your work. And that's what secures those donations. And to be honest, that's what it was, those relationships, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
That's right. That's right. Well, and I'm curious because part of, as I recall, the training that we did was about money mindset and really kind of
Mm-hmm.
unpacking some of the stuff that we all have about money. Was that helpful to you in thinking about stepping outside of your comfort zone?
Absolutely. I don't think I understood the money trauma or the money baggage that I held until I read the book, and realized that a lot of it came from childhood trauma. The things I was told, my mother was saying, "Oh, we can't afford that right now," or "That's too much." And so that mindset about money made me feel small. Like, who am I to step into this room of millionaires and ask for money? Does that make me look desperate because I'm the poor young girl asking for money? But I had to change my entire mindset about, people with money and even, the way that I felt about money. But realizing that, we're helping each other in this work. The people with money, they're human just like we are, and they're looking to make a difference. And I'm the vehicle and the tool to help them do that. And so once I changed my mindset about that and realized it was a partnership and relationship, the floodgates opened. And, that was the best feeling because I think once I became comfortable and realizing my position that, hey, I'm not a beggar, but I'm a partner in this work, I felt more empowered and my donors did too. So that's where the magic happens.
I love that because the other thing is when we believe that we're in the scarcity mindset, we do become desperate. We're like, this is the last donor I'm ever going to talk to, right? And so like our energy about that becomes really desperate, and it's almost like we accept less than, right? We accept being treated poorly because we're like, well, I just need to do it for the money. And I just think if you like truly understand that there's so much money out there, you put up boundaries and you train people to treat you well.
I agree. I agree. And I mean, I make some great friends. I mean, now one of my largest donors, we go hang out for coffee, we do walks, in the park. I was just there for one of her son's celebrations of his birthday. So it does really help when you understand, number one, your own trauma and your own thoughts about, money and being able to overcome those adversities, or that's that mindset of scarcity as you shared. So once you do that, like I said, the opportunities are endless.
So these major donors that you had, were they in your pipeline before the training, or did they come as a result of the work that you did after the training?
So it was almost like a touch and go, meaning I would see them in passing, but I never felt confident enough to put myself out there and create the conversation. So I think, one thing that I was really good at was putting myself in the rooms of opportunity. But one thing that I was bad at was taking action in those rooms. I'd be a body in the room, but I'd never start the conversation and I'd never make the ask. So it's kind of like, oh, hey, how you doing, Sue? Oh, great. Oh, well, how's the kids? Oh, they're doing great. Oh my goodness. And then that's it. But knowing in my heart, that's a major donor. That's someone that I need to get to know if I simply let down my guards and, allow that relationship to flourish. So I think they were around, but it wasn't until after reading your book that I had to deal with my own trauma and I got the guts, to get past that imposter syndrome that a lot of us female leaders have and say, hey, I belong in this room, I'm worthy. And that, hey, this is a new friend and a new, partnership that I could, develop if I just get past my fears.
So
So,
talk to me a little bit about the rejection. So I know what holds people back a lot is the rejection, the fear of rejection. I'm going to be rejected, then people are going to think some kind of thing about me. How did you get over your fear of rejection?
oh my goodness, my fear of rejection. Oh, I don't know if you'll ever quite get over rejection. I think I just take it on the chin, now. And I know that for every no, it's one step closer to that yes that I need. And I also realize that a no doesn't always mean no. Sometimes it means it's not yet. And I've had a lot of situations like that where it was maybe no at the time, but then we continue to develop I continue to communicate with that particular donor, just sharing the impact, inviting them to our events, and that no came into a resounding yes. And so that building that track record of that repeated thing happening, okay, they may have said no during that time, but yet someone else came. I just kind of that fear kind of subsided. I'm like, I've been this fear before. No, okay, that means either just not you or not yet. So I'll just keep on trucking along. And I have what I call my power lipstick, which I'm wearing today. Because I'm all about, Deion Sanders, his theory. Some like him, some don't. When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good, and you do good, you make more money. That's how I think about my power lipstick. I put my power lipstick on, and I am Superwoman. So that's how I build my confidence in rooms where
Amazing. I
I
mean,
get
Emerald,
told no.
I'm looking at you, I'm hearing you, and the word that just keeps coming to me is unstoppable. You are unstoppable right now. It's incredible. So let's dig a little bit into it. I want to talk about this big ask gift that you got of $1 million using this framework, this story. What happened? Are you comfortable sharing the details?
Yeah, I can share a little bit of the details. I mean, I think for me, it really happened in the most beautiful way. It happened in the room that I wasn't even a part of. And that is the power of relationships and building those connections. So essentially, what happened, it was actually a federal grant. A particular person who was in this room knew me well, was very invested in the community. She was a part of my board. And so when my name came across the table as a particular candidate for this funding source, she's like, oh, I know her. She's amazing. Her organization has 2 decades worth of, success. Um, she is doing amazing things for this entire community. I'm going to bat for her. And she did. And so to me, like I said, that is once again just the power of relationships. Now, yes, she was a part of my group when I told my story of self, my story of us, and story of now. But not only did she listen, she actually, took it into a room where it made a difference. And she remembered me. And so that's ultimately how that happened. And yeah, to me, it's the best way because hey, I didn't have to do too much work, but simply plant the seed and be authentic to myself and the organization. So,
That is so beautiful. The thing that strikes me too, Emerald, like you're a founder of this organization. And what I find sometimes with founders is that I don't know, they kind of do the things that they know how to do and they keep doing it the same way. What I think is really exceptional about you is that you're willing to invest in your skill set and then continue to do things differently. So, any advice for founders out there who may be listening and think like, oh, I feel like I've hit a plateau or I've hit a block?
uh, I would definitely say, change is inevitable. And so you've got to be flexible, changing with the times. I think there was a quote that says the idiots of the 21st century will be those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Since our environment is changing, you've got to put yourself out there, realize what's on the cutting edge, whether you feel comfortable or not. I think, right now the buzzword is, AI and tech and how it, can be the monster or how it can be a savior to help make things easier. So as long as you're keeping your ear to the streets, you're connecting, in rooms where, they are progressively thinking, I think you always be on top and just be open. No one and nothing stays the same. So change, grow, embrace the change, and get in where you fit in. So
I
that's
love
my
get in
motto.
where you fit. So when you think about, up to this point, right? So when you started 20 years ago, I'm sure it was kind of like a small startup and you kind of were chugging along and then you hit this exponential growth. What do you attribute the growth to? You spoke a little bit about mindset, being
Mhm.
uncomfortable. What else kind of made the difference for you?
Um, so Moves and Grooves actually started out as a dance program, hence the name Moves and Grooves. And even further, behind that, it was a classroom project. So I'm not even sure people know that story. I took an entrepreneurship class and we had to create our own business, and I merged my passion for dance and my love for kids, and hence Moves and Grooves was on paper. So I just was that crazy person like, what if I actually put this in action? What would happen? So Moves and Grooves started out as a dance program. Like I said, I used to volunteer teaching dance to low-income kids in the community center, and my classroom of 5 turned into 50. I think, once we got that contract, we received a contract with the district to provide those arts mentoring services, because arts is what connects kids. It gets them excited. It's been proven to help improve math and reading scores, and so we had something that the school district wanted but didn't know how to implement. And so that was when we began to grow. Once we contracted with the district, we had access to students. I was able to build more relationships. We were able to collect data and just make a difference, because we had access to over 86,000 kids. So definitely attribute the growth and success to the relationships that we've built along the way.
So, something I hear from a lot of folks, and I'd be curious about your thoughts on this, is I'm the only one doing fundraising. I'm out here, running program, doing this, that, the other, admin, et cetera, et cetera. What would your advice be to other nonprofit executive directors or founders, particularly as it pertains to fundraising? Like, how much time do you spend in your day fundraising?
Ooh. To be honest, I'm constantly in fundraising mode. I call it I'm in friend raising mode, to be honest. Because fundraising is about raising money, doing good with friends. And so I don't know how to turn it off. I think, it's so funny because one of my major donors, they said, to me, Dr. Mitchell, we have a nickname for you. I'm like, what is it? So we call you Celebration, because I always have an outgoing personality and it's a celebration every time. So to be honest, I don't think that I'm ever off of friend raising mode. I love connecting with people. I love sharing the story of Moves and Grooves and our impact in Nashville and beyond. And so to me, I know that that's something I'm trying to balance, because that's another thing. I am a mother and a wife. So, I know I've got to try to, keep a start and stop time, to my life. And I do that. So I think realistically, if I put into hours, I'm probably
Percentage
fun
wise, like if,
percentage rise, probably
yeah,
maybe 60 to 70% of the time.
I love that.
Yeah.
Because, I tell everyone out here, you should be spending 65 to 80% of your time fundraising.
Okay, great. I'm in that mode then. See,
Yeah.
I didn't even know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. No, because the thing is, especially founders, because they like to do program stuff. And so they
Yeah.
spend a lot of time, especially if they're not comfortable with fundraising, will spend a lot of time doing all the other stuff and then be
Right.
busy. And then they're like, why is the money not flowing? I'm like, because you didn't spend the time
No, seriously.
fundraising.
Fundraising. I agree. I agree. And I think, also what helps with that is just having a great team too. And I've got to attribute my team. I don't think that I would be able to dedicate as much time to fundraising as I do if I didn't have, my team who operates in the programming and my secretary who keeps my life in order.
Yeah.
So
Well, actually speak to that because I think especially for small nonprofits, there's always that tension of I don't have enough money to hire people, therefore I don't have enough time. And so you're kind of on this catch 22 treadmill. How did you resolve that?
I have some great friends who are just crazy enough to believe in me. Like I always go back to my very first summer. I wanted to host a summer camp. I was only 19 years old, on full-time student, and I didn't have any money. So I solicited my friends who also have the same passion, to work with kids and to want to do good in the neighborhood, and they volunteered. So that was my first staff. Um, I connected with colleges. I mean, a lot of the local colleges here in Nashville, they're looking for community service hours, fraternities and sororities. So I got the free help. Those that the when you don't have money, you've got to be creative. So I got creative and I used my resources in that way until I was able to pay my staff and my team, which is where we are now. But yeah, it was a struggle, but that was the best struggle because I look back on those times now and it really speaks to the heart of what we do, where it wasn't about the money. It was truly about the kids, about the impact and the service. And I think that's, what Moves and Grooves is all about. When you're doing good, you're believing in what you're doing. I mean, the money is going to come, and it did. So
So I'm
we've
just
moved.
wondering from your perspective, like, what was the tipping point for you, either in terms of budget size or organizational size? Because it sounds like I maybe caught you like right at that tipping point.
So budget size, you definitely did catch me at a tipping point. Like I said, the 2.5 million just put us in a whole realm and league of our own, which we love. And that just happened, this past, what was it, December 2022. We got the announcement. Yes, it was right. So that was definitely the tipping point for us. Like I said, I use this other motto. It just says poor, and we think about poor, we think about economic, but to me, poor for it stands for passing on opportunities regularly, and that for me is something that I never want to do. I never want to have a poor mindset because I mean, it is the opportunities. And like I said, when you step out of your comfort zone, that you're able to make the difference. And like I said, I did not know that this conversation with this particular funder, we received the 2.5 million, that I didn't know this was going to happen, but I did take an opportunity to connect with this particular person, to share my story. And she is who made the difference in that room when I wasn't even there. And that's just the power of influence, at the root, when
I
you
love
can
it.
make a difference. So,
Well, and speak to that because I think sometimes, especially when I'm doing training, I feel like people can get into this like this narrative that they tell themselves, like, oh, because I'm a woman of color, because I don't have money, I won't be successful. And so I'd love for you to just speak to that because, both of us as women of color, and I didn't come
yes.
from money, but
Mhm.
we have raised millions of dollars. So what's that story that you tell yourself that you're like, okay, imposter syndrome, like, that's not real. Be quiet. We're going to go do
Oh,
this.
so the story, I mean, I tell myself, Emerald, you come from a strong family. I put on my power lipstick, but even before power lipstick and this mindset came, my mind goes back to my very first time getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. At the time, I was a teacher. People don't know that I taught kindergarten before I took on Moves and Grooves full time. Yes, I was a kindergarten teacher, taught fourth grade. Yes, shout out to the teachers and educators out there. But I always wanted to pursue Moves and Grooves full time because, like I said, it was my baby project. And so I've done some research, found out this woman in Tennessee who was philanthropic and passionate about the arts. Her name was Martha Ingram. She was being celebrated at this particular event in my neighborhood. So I took my little teacher salary and purchased a $125 ticket to see Miss Martha Ingram at this event. So the event is, going great. I'm sitting at this table. I don't know anyone in the room, but I'm Kiki King. And then the event is over. So as people are rushing this, amazing woman, trying to talk to her, I get so nervous. My palms are shaking. I run to the restroom. And I told myself in the restroom, Emerald, if you're going to do this, she's got to at least know who you are, which means you've got to speak to her. So the moment I walked out of the restroom, Miss Martha's standing in front of me. And so she's talking to someone else at the time. So I kind of, sit there in the background cheesing and then trying to calm my fears at the same time, okay. And so the moment the person walks away, I kind of threw myself in front of Miss Martha and I extended my hand and I introduced myself. I said, hello, Miss Martha. I am a teacher at so and so elementary school, but I have a passion for the arts and I want to pursue this nonprofit. And she said amazing words to me. She said, Emerald, you only get out of the arts what you put into it. So if you truly want and believe in this nonprofit organization, you've got to pursue it full time. And I'm like, oh my goodness, do I just leave everything behind? But the fact that, she was willing to share knowledge with me, it allowed me to get over my fears because I was like one of the only young, people of color in the room. This is this billionaire of a person. And look, 20 years later, Ingram Charities is one of our largest sponsors.
I
I
love that.
Yes,
I
all from
love
that one
that.
conversation. So taking
For
take that leap of faith.
yeah,
Take that leap of faith.
fortune
Really.
favors the bold, right? Because I think that there's so much like the fear can keep us playing small. They can keep us in our little corner. And for you, I mean, when I first met you, I could see that you had a big vision for the world. And I mean, I don't think that I did anything for you you didn't already have, except for maybe give you permission to be as amazing as I know that you are.
You did. And sometimes that's all you need. You need to see, that someone believes in you, someone who's done it, that gives you, the freedom to say, hey, I can do it too. Like one of my favorite quotes is by Marianne Williams says, um, that our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate, but our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And those words just resonated with me because I think we all feel like, someone we have some kind of power. I almost lost you. But the power, is in us. And I think it's just all about tapping into it. And sometimes it needs to be ignited. And I think that's what you did. You ignited my fire. You ignited the power that it was always in me. I just needed, like you said, permission to let it go. And once I did, that's when the freedom came.
I love that so much because I literally remember it was like you came up to me and you like kind of whispered, you're like, I have to raise $10 million. You're like, ah. And I was like, yeah, you can do it. What's the problem? And look at
Right.
you now.
I know. But like I think you were such, a calming spirit. Um, you made it seem easy. You made it seem fun, and you gave me a blueprint, on how to do it. And that's all I needed. It's like, just show me how. I'm such a human sponge. I know that I can, but I don't know what to do. My number one strength is activation. I'm a doer. And so I think sometimes if, you have a great idea, you just need someone to help, give you a plan and a little motivation to say, hey, I'm cheering for you. I'm rooting for you. And that's what you did for me. So
Oh, thank you
I'm
for
forever
saying that
grateful.
because I really see my role in this world as being the Yoda. I mean, my job is amazing. I get to meet all of these folks like yourself who are out here changing the world. And if I can just be a little part of that journey, to be like, hey, here's the direction we're going to go. Go be great. I just think it's such an honor and privilege in my life to be able to do that for folks.
And we're grateful for you. I mean, I think
Oh, great.
like what we said when we met in Colorado, I mean, you planted a seed, and that's why the entire cohort were in agreement. Hey, we want Rhea back. Bring her here. We love your fundraising expertise. I mean, I need you as my mentor, and hope to keep you here, for years to come because you definitely have a gift, and
Oh, thank you, Emerald.
I
Well, listen, I'm
recognize.
only a phone call away. Last question for you, because I know there's some folks who are listening to this phone call, and some of them might be thinking about enrolling in my program, which is opening up for enrollment. What would your advice be to them as far as working with me and what we've been able to do together?
Well, Rita's just amazing. You want a no bullshit approach. She's gonna bring it to you straight, no chaser, in a very authentic and fun way. Like I said, just she's gonna help you realize your mindset about money and maybe even unpack some of that trauma, but she's also gonna give you the tools on how to get over it and really get the job done and raise the funds that you need to make a difference. So, hey, if you're scared, do it anyway. Feel the fear, get out there and do it anyway. Connect with Rhea, and your life will change for the better for sure.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend. And congratulations to you. I am so proud. I'm so pleased. I'm so honored to be a part of your journey. And now you have a building you need to build. Yeah.
Yes. Open in 2025. So I'm going to be circling back and letting you know when the ribbon cutting ceremony is, because I definitely want you to be front and center for sure.
Call me. I am there. I saved my ticket.
I got you. Got you covered for
All
sure.
right. Well, thank you so much. I really
The pleasure.
appreciate your time. And we'll talk to you soon. Call me if you need me.
Will do.
All
Thank you
right.
for having me.
Thank you.